Welcome back, everyone. Before we went to break, we were following the breaking news out of Ohio, so we want to continue with that coverage. At approximately 5:37 p.m., this is according to Toledo Police, who put this statement out on Twitter at around 6:30 p.m. At approximately 5:37 p.m., Toledo police officers responded to a report of a person shot in the area of Delaware Avenue and Glenwood Avenue near the Old West End Festival. Upon arrival, officers discovered multiple shooting victims. Many victims have been transported to nearby medical facilities for treatment. The Toledo Police Department is actively searching for the suspect or suspects involved. The investigation currently includes scenes in the area of Delaware Avenue and Robinwood Avenue. Residents and visitors are asked to avoid the area and expect a significant police presence as officers continue their search and investigators work to determine the circumstances surrounding the incident. Additional information will be provided as it becomes available. So we're learning information right now about what appears to be a multiple shooting in the state of Ohio in Toledo at about 5:37 p.m. We still don't have any confirmation as to the casualties and victims, but we are learning, according to the Toledo Police, that victims have been transported to a nearby facility and that the situation remains active in terms of search for a possible suspect and suspects. So we're continuing to get that information. We're trying to find out more of it. We're not sure exactly what the West End Festival is, but that is where it has been identified that the shooting took place. With us right now is Rob D'Amico, who can join us. Rob, obviously we don't have any information yet as to what has been the cause of this other than what appears to be a mass shooting situation. Give me your first read in terms of how law enforcement might be responding to this situation based on what we know from Toledo Police.
Well, right now, the priority is to get a description of the subject or subjects that did this so that they can start looking. I mean, that's the potentially dangerous thing, that they don't have a subject in custody, so that they needed to get a description, physical description, vehicle description, get that from witnesses so they can put that out into a mass public notification. They can get it into the police hands. And then they're going to, again, start talking to witnesses to try to figure out what caused this. They talked about a festival type of thing, but you want to make sure, it's not gang related or something like that. That would give them a different spin on this. If it was something outside of that, where they can easily, say that it wasn't involving some type of criminal activity, then they're looking at a a mass shooter type of situation. But they want to get that description out, get that, if they can get a car, a vehicle, and a license plate, that really helps to get that Amber Alert out. They're going to start trying to look at CCTV. Some of these, storefronts, they have cameras out there, so I'm sure the police are trying to look at that and try to get a hold of the owners of the stores to see if they can, quickly look at the capture of the CCTV. Again, to get a description to a car or to a person, to get that out to public safety. Those are going to be the most important things right now, as far as, trying to figure out why. That's not really the concern right now, unless it does point to why he did it, or she did it, or they did it, in order to, again, get public safety. But the public safety thing is going to be the important thing right now. Description, vehicle, something like that. If it was more than one or multiple shooters, again, getting that out is going to help tremendously.
Rob, let me ask you, just because of what this appears to be based on what the police have identified as a festival, this Old West End Festival. I know you work in the security space, and one of the things that you are tasked with is always assessing the risks to large gatherings and events. And a lot of the way of life gatherings that we have in this country, and certainly this time of year as we go into the summer holidays and people are gathering for music concerts or food festivals or all kinds of celebrations. I want you to talk just about the kind of security planning that goes into something like this. And again, we are just basing this off of what the police are telling us, that this happened near the Old West End Festival. It's not to say that the West End Festival itself was a target, but just the security posture would suggest that if there was a large gathering of people there in Toledo, you would have a police presence, you would have some kind of ambulance presence, you would have some kind of first responder presence on standby nearby.
The first thing I'm going to do is try to limit traffic. I mean, what we've seen in past, kind of terrorist events is using vehicles as weapons. So you really want to block off those streets, and you have to have large items. You can't just have. We've seen it like down in New Orleans on that tragic event down there around New Year's Day, where a vehicle got in, and it was poor security planning. So you want to be able to limit vehicles from getting to the site where everyone's going to be walking. And then the next thing you want to start looking at is, where do law enforcement or security start looking at people's bags? And it may not be a total, like, I set up security where we actually had AI controlled detectors for weapons, where people didn't have to take everything out of their pocket. They have some detectors out there that you can walk fairly quickly through, but they get expensive, and depending on how many people are going to be at this event. But you do want to have an area where security or police presence start looking at, if you're carrying in a backpack or if you're carrying in a purse or something, that they look at it. I was just down at one of my kids' graduation in Tulane, and it was either a 4x6 purse, or the bag had to be clear so that they could look through it. And that was at a college graduation, a graduate school graduation. So there are security measures, and you kind of want to do that further out from where the crowd's going to be, as we talked about so many times at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where they just had poor security planning, where someone could run and speed through the checkpoint. And that was poor security. You want to be able to slow them down where they have to wind back and forth and they can't have that clear path to it. You also want to do that with the bags. And we saw that actually at the White House shooting, where the Secret Service had a checkpoint. The person came up knowing he was probably going to be searched, and then pulled out the gun there. And it's a further distance away from the White House to give them that space and time to react to it.